Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 159 of Masters of the Forge. My name is Adam. Hi, Adam. And with me, I have Jason. Jason.
Hi, Adam. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Ben.
And we also have Ben.
Hello,
Hi,
Moon.
Ben. Hello, Moon.
Hello, Jason. Hello, Adam. Thank you for having me on.
Moon, that spells Jason. Okay, so Ben comes to us because he is going to be presenting his awesome custom lore for his army this episode. Very excited about that. I'll tell you why, Ben. You've picked, and by you've picked, I mean I've picked really the best week to have you on, because this is one of those nights that Jason and I are just kind of totally phoning it in such a major way.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
That's the only way to keep it, Adam.
Yeah, it's the only way to keep it. I just kind of trusted that your lore would be appropriate to put on the show, so we didn't really read it until yesterday. And if you recall, our chat on Facebook started with you commenting on the idea I had for a army that included Dark Angels and Space Wolves.
Yes.
And just skimming through that chat, I was like, oh, he has a Space Wolves army. And I prepared this big episode about Space Wolves and Dark Angels.
Oh,
it has nothing to do with your army.
Well,
so I last night, when I realized that last night at 1 a.m., I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to bed. And so that we just parted the robe a little bit there for everybody. But we do have some hobby progress. So I'll start this week. I repainted all the killer cans. I'm getting ready, gearing up for the Dread Mob project. The Death Dreads aren't in yet. I guess they're online only order. I don't even know. I think it's possible Flipside loses money off this deal personally. They've been having some real issues with shipping. They just moved to a new location, so I think that might be why. I've had some guys on the IC's forums and or was it Splinter? Either way, lots of people rely on Flipside for their Warhammer because of the discount, and I think stuff's getting bounced out of Mechanicville and into somewhere else. So yeah, they're right down the road now. So
that is cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
I mean, that's cool for you, and I really like Flipside.
Yeah.
So
yeah, me too. It's good stuff. So I'm still waiting on the Death Dreads, but I, in the meantime, repainting the killer cans. I've been watching. Duncan has a few good videos about weathering and chipping, which I guess you could get that anywhere. But what's really nice is just listening to Duncan is like listening to Bob Ross. It's really nice. I like it. My little British paint goblin.
Especially Duncan Unchained.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He is unfettered. I also bought a Too Thin Coats face mask. Which is pretty sweet, but it's a cloth face mask, so in many large group situations, that is not the optimum thing to wear. But let's be honest, if I'm wearing that mask over an actual mask, I am literally wearing Too Thin Coats on my face. So I think that's appropriate. Right? It's not even a pun. It's just for real.
It's very literal.
No,
it's very good.
Thank you. And so I've been doing a lot of 3D printing.
Don't encourage him.
I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I decided I bought a STL file of Bernie sitting, the meme, and I'm selling those for a donation to Vermont Meals on Wheels. So people have been buying. A few people bought those, and also I had like one of the former president's heads on a frog, on a toad that I printed just for funsies, and people want those too. So I've been printing those. Those are fun. I'm going to be painting a couple of them, so hopefully I'll get those posted up this week sometime. 3D printing is fun, but I didn't realize how toxic the resin is. I'm not saying I was overcome by fumes. What I'm saying is with the Elegoo 2 Pro that Wendy got me, or Santa got me for Christmas, it has a carbon fiber filter that like cleans the air coming out of it a little bit. So it's not the fumes actually aren't that bad. It's the liquid resin is not good for you. It's not one of those immediately toxic things. It's anybody who's gone through SDS, was it SD?
OSHA training, isn't it?
Oh yeah, OSHA training knows there's like chemicals that cause acute, like immediate effects, and ones that the effects are over constant, irritation. Yeah, cumulative. Yeah. So it's one of those where you can't don't let it absorb into your skin over and over and over again, because it's really bad for you. So that's one of the things I never realized. I never knew from looking at it online, probably because, gamers and other people think they're invincible and don't care.
As long as you still have models to build, you'll never die.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a barrier that I was not considering, when making the argument for 3D printing. Like, you can't. That's just one. That's one thing that might make it a bridge too far until we can get some kind of change to the technology, because that's a big hurdle that people don't even talk about. But anyways, I've been, wearing gloves and everything. I've been safe, but yeah, again, it's not something you just want laying around. So I also printed a Gunstar, the first spaceship I've printed. I'll be painting more spaceships because I love spaceships. I printed the Gunstar from The Last Starfighter. I will be getting into more 40K stuff. For the Dread Mob, I'm going to be printing out a bunch of plates, like armor plates and pieces like that, claws and missile launchers and all various stuff like that. But at the same time, like I said, my bits box is deep. I won't really need to be printing a whole lot. It'll just be a good way to get more glyphs and stuff on the models.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's good. I like having that tool. Like, I'm going to be making Wendy some wick holders for her candle making hobby, so you can make fun, useful things as well. Just don't let your kid chew on it. I'll obviously like stuff like that, like tools. I'm going to spray paint the living piss out of them and make sure they're super sealed up. Also, the 100 Space Marines are almost all delivered. I'm waiting for one shipment from our favorite Yeti from Canada. Once that arrives, I'll have them all. And okay, so the display case, I got a stencil from my sister-in-law. A stencil that looks like the old Warhammer, like the 5th edition Warhammer logo. And it's the same text that's on the poster, on the 100 Space Marine chapter poster. I affixed that, and then I painted over it. And when I pulled it up, all the acrylic, the acrylic paint that I used started to tear.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's not really going to work. I would have had to, I think if I had done the paint super duper thin, it would have worked better. But to be honest, when I put on that stencil, I thought, wow, if I had just had her do this negative and just used a stencil, like the stencil material, and sealed it with a clear coat, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
So Shauna is going to be cutting me. She has a cry cut that she uses. Cricut cry cut. I think it's cry cut. Is it cry cut? Whatever. It cuts. She's going to be making me a new decal, and I'm just going to stick it on there, and and I'm going to clear coat it, and it's going to stay. It'll be much easier. But this week I'm definitely going to continue. I'm going to be working on these prints, these Bernie prints, and the Frog President prints for people, and getting those shipped out. That's probably going to be my main thing, because I got to clip them and wash them and stuff. That is me. That is my hobby progress. Jason, what have you been working on?
Not a whole lot, just because work. I did build the Cerestus. I can't even pronounce this. The
Acheron?
Yeah, there we go, Acheron. Those knights for Adeptus Titanicus. Those are really fun. I've enjoyed building those. Haven't primed them yet because I currently have Amon in my hand from from Forge World, and I just found a bit of mold on the leg.
Wait,
I was like, oh,
wait, mold, like the mold or black, like black mold. Oh, okay.
No, like
a piece of the mold.
Yeah, it's underneath the right shin guard.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's nice to have things. I guess, I don't know. I did finish building the Hammerfall bunker. I don't remember if I talked about it last time, but sorry. I know that it's a 40k unit, but it looks like it could be terrain for Adeptus Titanicus. Like, it looks a little short for 40k, but as I was looking at with the little night spite, I was like, oh yeah, that would totally be something ridiculous, for Adeptus Titanicus. Like, the heavy bolters look like they're out of scale, but really? I mean, come on. It's the Grim Dark kids. So, anyways, that might be something that, shows up in my Adeptus Titanicus games. My KR foam order came in. Spot now has a new home. I now have foam for Magnus, which is pretty cool. I'm kind of happy about that. I haven't played Magnus yet. He's tabletop, and I mean truly tabletop. I think he's only like 2 or 3 colors. Oh yeah, Table War had a sale. They're having a sale. I don't know, what the correct verb tense is, but it'll probably be over by the time we release this. I did pick up a mini case from them. There's like the big case and the giant towers and whatnot, but they have a small one for skirmish level stuff. I thought, that'd be kind of cool to put my, either my Adeptus Titanicus stuff or maybe my kill team stuff in there. So, that would be something nice to do. Also, it'll fit underneath a what's that thing called? An airplane or an airline chair. So, I might be able to use that whenever I'm transporting. And the last thing, I picked up the Dark Angel supplement because, I was wanting to look up the Crusade stuff, and I was talking with our local game store owner, Da, and he's building a Ravenwing army. So there's something we can talk about in the future. Yeah, and one thing that he was mentioning was that Raven Guard are kind of like the wannabe emo Legion, whereas like Dark Angels is like the old, angry, and bitter emo Legion. Like they're the true emo.
Yeah. Like if you go to a goth club, like the Ravenwing are all the kids dancing and like ordering drinks with their chalked like license, but all the Dark Angels are the ones sitting in the corner shooting meth.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
Didn't it?
I'm sorry. Show me on the transcript where I was wrong.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. How many Raven Guard people are going to hate us after this?
I was going with one listens to The Cure and one listens to My Chemical Romance.
There you go. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, that's my hobby progress. Ben, you want to tell us? Is there anything you've been working on lately you want to talk about?
Yeah, you were working on something recently that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, there's something I kept telling you I loved every time you posted on Facebook.
Yes, I've got several projects actually on my desk right now. The one that Jason's referring to is my kit bashed Chaos Knight that's got everything done but the feet. And Ned Smith from the IC's Discord is actually 3D printing me some because the original ones that he sent me are lost in the warp of the postal service.
Wait, Ned is sending you Knight feet in the mail.
Yes, Chaos Knight.
A weird fetish.
Hey man, we don't judge fetishes on air.
2021.
That's true.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got everything done on the Knight, except for his metallic feet, which are in the mail as we speak. Nice. It was a really, really fun project, and I really appreciate the compliments, Jason. It was nice reading those whenever I posted something. But
I love that mini. I mean, that honestly, that looks like it should be an official model.
Well,
sometimes we have conversions that you look at them and you're just like, yeah, okay, I can see this is this and this is that. And on yours, I could kind of tell where things are from, but it looked clean enough and it looked like all the things that it should be to be like, yeah, this should be an official, just because it's so grim dark that it's
yeah, it's not enough to just rip off the arms of one thing and the legs of another thing and stick it on a torso. There's a lot more to it than that if you want it to look good.
And if it's okay, I can kind of describe it to listeners just so they can build a picture.
Yes, that would be very appropriate. Thank you.
For the base model, I took the Age of Sigmar Mega Gargant, those giants that they just released.
Yeah, those rule.
And honestly, a lot of this inspiration and credit goes to Vince Ventrella because I saw him do it first and saw that the parts fit. But what I did was I did not attach the giant's left arm, and instead I attached a Chaos Knight left arm with the Reaper chainsword attached to it. I did not attach the wrist and hand to his right arm, and instead attached the chaos equivalent of a Thunderstrike gauntlet and kind of painted around where the metal meets the skin so that it looks irritated and bruised, like it was not a painless process. And I'm going to have the metallic Chaos Knight feet because, as goes with my lore, these guys kind of do the heavy lifting in the forges of the Hive world, so they can't get tired on their feet. They need indestructible feet, just about. And in a bit of serendipitous inspiration, an Imperial Knight faceplate actually fit perfectly over one of the Mega Gargant faces, so it looks kind of like a hockey mask.
Nice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
A grimdark crimson red face mask. And then on the back, I was looking at a piece of terrain I had out in my garage, and it had a giant smokestack on it, and I thought, that looks like it can scale very appropriately to kind of be an exhaust pipe for this guy. Like, he's got inner machinations that we can't see. And I glued that on there, and it fit, again, very perfectly. So he's got a smokestack out of his back. Just kind of...
That was cool.
Adding to the, oh my gosh, they did that factor. Poor guy. I started working on another set of 10 cultists. because in a Chaos Army, you can't have too many. And as soon as I started working on those, I had a Forge World order come in, which is my latest distraction. And really my latest conversion that I've been posting on the IC's Discord. But I got a World Eaters Legion Contemptor. And I got him with the close combat talons because this guy is going to stand in for my Demon Prince. Specifically Demon Prince of Corn, so I thought World Eaters would be appropriate. And I've painted him in Black Legion colors so he fits in. But I did a test fit with my Ultramarines Contemptor, and the Age of Sigmar Vargeist wings are very well scaled to the Contemptor. And they fit right in his back. So he's got like mutated protruding wings coming out the back, and it doesn't look like too small like some wings I've seen. They don't look overbearing like others, but the standard GW Demon Prince model I didn't really like, so I wanted to make one of my own. And I thought the Contemptor Close Combat Talons would be a great kind of stand-in for 2 Warp Talons, and since he's got wings, he can actually be WYSIWYG and have wings. But in addition to that, and I haven't started on it yet, it's next in the hopper after this Demon Prince, but I also got a Leviathan. And it is the first Leviathan I've ever had. And it's one of those, I've ordered infantry and weapons parts and Legion decal sheets from Forge World, but this Leviathan is the first like truly Forge World kit that I feel like I've ever owned, because I always think of Forge World as those big just centerpiece models, you know. And everybody I've talked to has said that building the Leviathan is an absolute joy. So I'm very excited for that. And he's got 2 storm cannons, so my army will have some mid to long range firepower, which it is sorely lacking right now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. I still just don't know where all the ammo comes from. I don't know. Okay, so I know I've talked to people in the military sometimes, you know, and like some of these airplanes and stuff with their one little gun on the front or on the wings, you know, like they can burn through like all their ammo pretty quickly. And I'm just wondering how long this thing's on the battlefield before it's just punching someone with its guns. That's what I want.
Well, if it's a Slaneshi Chaos Leviathan, then you can be pretty creative with how it creates its own ammunition.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. I'm just thinking too hard. About it. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And one non-40K related project that I started on, at the high school where I teach, we've got a pretty awesome STEAM lab. And the STEAM lab teacher, and that's science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, she just recently got a 3D printer, and she printed me up a Bernie.
Yes.
And, you know, it looked great as it was, but given what my main hobby is, I said, I can bring this home and paint it and turn it up to 11. So that is going to be a fun project. Awesome. The kids thought it was hilarious when he was sitting there on my sound bar at the front of the class, silently judging everybody as they worked. So,
that's fantastic.
Looking forward to getting some paint on old Bernie.
Yeah, I did do a really small, like 25 millimeter one, so that I could put him in my Knight Preceptor's chair. It's awesome.
Yes.
His command throne. That one's going to be mine. I'm painting that guy awesome. Up.
Well, she had also printed like a chair for him, but when she took the gates off, it broke, and she didn't want to give me the chair for him to sit in. But I told her, you know, I think the real Bernie would accept a broken aluminum chair to sit in if that's all there was.
Right. This is fine. I'll be fine. I won't.
This is okay. I'll take it. It's okay.
That's fine. I'll take it. I don't want to bother anybody. I'll just
Got
sit
other
here,
stuff
read my
to do
mail,
today.
read my newspaper.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got.
Nice.
The Chaos Cultists are kind of on the back burner now that I have these big shinies in front of me. Because I can knock the big ones out pretty quick. And I knew as soon as I started on them, my Forge World Order would come in. But one purchase I made that I'm going to use on this Demon Prince that I'm pretty excited about, I'm going to try out Uhu Glue. It's the glue that you can mix it with like blood for the blood god and then put it on a model and it looks like viscera.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
I'm curious to see how it works. I'll play around with it a little bit before I put it on my model, but it'll be a cool effect, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, good idea.
I think it will. Well, I think we've got some. There goes 50% of our content. All right. Next, we'll have games played, and then we'll go now Beyond the Fringe. Okay, so my Beyond the Fringe tonight is extra cheese. Now, here's the thing. I got some Dom's pizza today with sausage and peppers, and then I decided, you know what I need on here? Some more of that delicious, low moisture mozzarella cheese on there. When you get it, it's molten. You get it home, it's molten. You got to be sure not to tip it, or else you get cheese everywhere. You let it sit for a good 15 to even like as long as 30 minutes. When you open it up, you got yourself like a layer of congealed, like half congealed stringy cheese that's like a good 2 to 3 millimeters thick. And that's just really good.
Wow.
Chef's hashtag, or yes, hashtag chef's kiss. Exactly. Jason, what's your Beyond the Fringe today?
This is the strangest Beyond the Fringe we've done, but you know what? Let's run with it. So a couple of days ago, we were talking about a television show that has somehow been greenlit called Gary Busey, Pet Judge. I've actually watched this. No matter how crazy you think it is or will be, it's crazier.
Tell me more.
I know that all of us can sit there and be like, oh, I can imagine all sorts of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. Let's keep it within the PG-13 realm.
Right.
But even then, it's just, here's how I described it to one of my other friends. It's just, I think that they put him in the room and they just have people tell him their stories and just let him just talk. And every once in a while he'll ask questions and they'll answer and he'll interrupt them and just say weird things. Just looks like they're just saying, you know what? We're going to keep these people here for an hour and just let him riff. And then we'll cut out the stuff that doesn't work and leave just the stuff that works. So
solid format.
Yeah.
Solid format.
Yeah. Works for me. Just let him sit there and babble for a couple of hours, and they'll cut it down to 30 minutes.
With
roll.
Pets. Yeah, with pets, cute animals.
Yeah.
I mean, at first I was like, who would greenlight something like this? And then I immediately thought, who would not greenlight something like this?
Right?
I would have. I'd be like, great, this is
for real.
What writers?
You literally spend like $1 on this show, and it will return. It will return every investment you put into it because the investment is almost non-existent. So the Beyond the Fringe I chose for Ben is Texas Muddin'. So I saw a post today that you were driving around today with your family in some Jeeps and stuff. That looks like a lot of fun.
It's the first time I've actually taken my Jeep off-roading, and I've had it for 3 years. Which feels like something you have to do if you're a Jeep owner.
Yeah.
But
I'm reminded of what is it? The first Cars movie. One of the credit scenes is the ex-military Jeep taking all these like upper class SUVs like off road, and the dude's like, "Oh my, I got dirt on my rims." Kind of thing.
Oh man, but yeah, it was a ton of fun. I've made some friends at my current school, and we like this. We all finally got our schedules to line up so we could go up some trails or in a national park or state park near us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a ton of fun. We found some really cool campsites that we'll use later.
Yeah.
When we inevitably take a camping trip now that we've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I absolutely had a blast. The kids were a little afraid with the first trail we went on because they've never been on a real roller coaster before. Like my youngest is 2, and he just kept saying, "Go home now, go home now."
I can see my son saying something like that. Yeah.
And then when my wife mistakenly said, Daddy's going to wash the Jeep when he gets home, he started changing to "wash Jeep now."
Let's wash the Jeep. Yes. Genius.
But by the end, they were having fun, and it's one of those things. If you've got good company to do it with, it's a whole lot more fun. Just kind of like wargaming, but yeah, and there weren't anybody else really on the trails either, so we didn't have to be in a hurry, which is always nice. Not feel rushed, especially since I've never done this before.
Yeah.
But the old girl held up. She went through like a champ.
Nice. That's awesome. That sounds like so much fun. Wendy really wants to get there might be a possibility we get some land in the future, and she like the first thing that she's going to buy is a 4-wheeler. Not, nothing like driving around a Jeep, but she definitely wants to be doing that sort of thing, and it does sound like a lot of fun. So thanks for sharing that. All right, guys. I wanted to touch briefly on something interesting I noticed when I was doing my research for for next week's show. And that if you look through all the old codexes, you'll see that the preamble has in the Space Marine codexes, the preamble describing what happened to the Primarchs prior to the Crusade has changed over time. At first, straight up says Chaos Demons stole them, and then they were themselves waylaid by the warp storms, which is a weird, interesting way of describing what happened. And then after that, the second edition codex described the theft by the chaos powers. And it gets a little more vague, right? And somehow they kind of fought each other over the opportunity to steal the Primarchs, and that's what caused them to lose track of the Primarchs. And of course, the Primarchs all end up landing on the perfect planet for their particular idiom for some reason, somehow, because space magic. The third edition codexes don't say a thing because they're terrible and don't have lore in them. I mean, they have some lore, but they're real bad. Yeah, the third edition was definitely a crunchy, rules-heavy edition, I think.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Were you around back then, Ben? For your
third edition was actually where I got my start, and looking back at those codexes, it is kind of shocking to see how thin they are on lore, especially with what we get these days.
Yeah. Now, I will admit, like, I have been looking at things like the old Liber Chaotica and the Realms of Chaos and stuff. Like, it's almost like there were separate. Maybe it was because there were separate books, but a lot of those came out in second edition anyways. So I'm not sure. I think we go through these ebbs and flows, and I'm kind of reminded of the new codex so far for 9th edition. They do seem a little anemic on lore, but not quite as bad as these 3rd edition ones. They are very, very skint, whatever. There's not a lot of lore in them. The 5th edition ones, there
was one thing I wanted to bring up about the 2nd edition ones. Because it was something I was excited. Hey, I actually read this stuff. They actually use the phrase "the mutant genes use the basic building blocks for these elite warriors." Mutant genes? I mean, that's wow, man. The Inquisition definitely did not approve of that phrase.
No, like that. I mean, that's literally what it is. But yeah, you wouldn't want to. Yeah. You wouldn't use those words to describe it these days.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The 5th edition codex implies that the Emperor himself, fighting back against the forces of chaos, caused chaos to lose track of the Primarchs. So it was his psychic powers that thwarted them, but still the amniotic tubes were scattered across the galaxy. The 7th edition codex didn't really change much in this regard. Things are kind of leveling out, and I think that's things are a little vaguer too. I think they're trying to, as they reveal new things, they're trying to put a shroud of questions around other things to kind of keep the mystique alive, while also giving the information that we crave, if you take my meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ben, as a longtime player, like that kind of exposition, do you think it's a little too much these days, or do you think that as long as they replace every question they answer with 2 unanswered questions, is that a good way to go, or what do you think?
I think the hobby is so broad and vast. Anything you can put out there to hook people, I think is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Even if it is inconsistent, like some of the lore is. But like when I got in 3rd edition, it wasn't so much the stories, because I was in the 6th grade at the time, and I didn't even know that there were novels out there, because my friends and I were basically doing Unbound and Crusade stuff before it was a thing. We would create our own stories, and it was the aesthetic of the models that we fell in love with. And I think that's still a huge hook.
Yeah.
But, if you're like us and the listeners of this podcast, if you want a narrative base, then you can't have too much exposition.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because you're counting on the players to develop that narrative after after the foundation that you've created. They're the ones that zoom in on the battlefield and in the tabletop and in their imaginations.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, cool. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be coming back when we're going to have Ben take the reins here, so that Jason and I can continue to phone it in for the rest of the episode.
No pressure. No pressure.
All right, we'll be right back. Potty break, I need to have a potty break. I gotta pee, I've had a coffee, And some water and some coffee. And then some coffee again. Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deserts.
Ah!
Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40k background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40k to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Welcome back. We've just been butt-chugging a little fireball.
I'm not like censoring that. So.
Record needs to reflect that I am not doing that.
No,
same here. Actually,
this is absolute. I'm out of good tequila, so I'm drinking not no. What's it? Patron Orange. It's very sweet.
Okay.
It's very sweet. I should not be drinking this, but
this is going to give you problems later, isn't
it? No, because I'm not responsible for anything that happens for the rest of the segment. It's all on Ben. It's fine.
Well, to counter that, I have a code red. So
oh, very nice. I don't even think we have Code Red anymore. We certainly don't have Baja Blast. It's Mountain Dew.
Oh, that's Mountain Dew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Full of carcinogens, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Certainly, at least 90% industrial chemicals. Ben, what is the name of your... Well, let's... first of all, we should tell the listeners that you submitted to us a Chaos Warband. We did briefly discuss this earlier. It is decidedly not Dark Angels or Space Wolves. It is, in fact, a Chaos Warband.
We'll leave the Dark Angels jokes alone.
Oh, certainly, because it's just too easy at this point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, what's the name of your warband, Ben?
Okay. I call them the Cortex Hive Crusade Force at this point. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of want to a general overview of what they are, where they came from, that kind of thing, before we take a deep dive into my lore?
That sounds like a great way
Perfect.
to. I mean, it's either we have you read the lore first, or and then talk about them, or talk about them and then read the lore. I almost think it would be better to just give people the introduction using your lore, and then go into detail.
All right, we will certainly do that. And fair warning to listeners, I am an English major, so this is I took some creative liberties here.
Well, and also, let's be honest, we're going to be hearing it in your delicious accent. So I think we're in for a real treat. Personally.
All right, let's dive right in, guys. The hope of an STC fragment drew Magus Matthias Blockberger to the hive city of Cortex. This will be a boon for the Omnissiah and the Imperium Nihilus. Lord Dante will be most pleased, he stated to the planet that filled his viewport. One can certainly hope so, the helmeted figure standing next to him said in response. Blockberger's companion had been a passenger on his vessel for countless years, and the Magos appreciated her cold appraisal of their situation, which was rare in humans. She appreciated the seemingly welcoming nature of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Stardust chapters weren't at all as open to having an Ordo Hereticus Inquisitor on their flagships. The Magos had even fabricated cybernetic enhancements for the Inquisitor as a gift for joining his ship on its travels. The Hive Mayor, Arcarion Cyburos, was expecting the Magos and Inquisitor, and sent a cadre of his elite Crimson Guard to meet them at the docking port of Space Station XU-95. Cyburos was a wizard of a financier, and had used his magic to afford himself the best protection available in a hive city of the Imperium of Man. Our employer wishes to know if there is anything you will require from him during your time in Cortex, a battle-scarred member of the greeting party asked, his cybernetic implants whirring and buzzing as they took in data. That will be completely unnecessary, Blockberger replied through his Voxcaster. I have my own bodyguard of Scutari to ensure my safety, and we have all the resources on our ship that we will need for our investigation. Excellent. We will leave you to your devices then, the man replied. The Crimson Guard then left the docking station and the Magos behind them. Jacoby Rex was not easily discouraged as a licensed Imperial preacher, but even he has his limits. His assignment on Cortex was to preach to the Imperial workers who were blessed to be working in the giant forges in the depths of the Hive, where a large amount of weapons and materiel were produced for the never-ending wars against the Heretic and the Xenos. The constant turf wars between rival gangs had necessitated him employing a personal bodyguard from one of those gangs, the Rat Eaters. They were good enough at their job, but more importantly to the priest, they were cheap. While Jacoby viewed them as cheap, they viewed their asking price as a king's ransom. No longer did they have to sleep in half-filled dumps or scrounge for food from the scraps that were thrown out. As he preached from an elevated dais into a Voxcaster, they patrolled through the crowd, looking for any signs of rebellion or prepared violence against their boss. Years had passed since Jacoby's initial assignment to the Hive City, and his life had settled into a comfortable daily rhythm. Wake up, get dressed, preach, go to sleep, repeat. Despite this comfort, he could not remove the doubt that was gnawing at his subconscious. You are not reaching these people. The ecclesiarchy was pleased with his work, and why shouldn't they be? He was in a remote sector of the galaxy, and there had been no reported incidences of heresy while he was stationed there. His guilt was weighing on him, however. He had begun to see shadows moving in and out of the light as he would make his journey back to his habitation unit. His dreams became fevered and full of whispers. He would awake in the morning and transcribe his dreams by hand, lest he should lose the inspirational messages they contained. For months, these visions would form the basis for his sermons to the masses, and the more he preached them, the larger the crowds grew, drawn in by his message of truth. The shadows laughed. The Magos had found what he was looking for. Deep beneath the structures of the Hive City, he had found an STC fragment. There could be no mistaking it. His servo motors whirred expectantly as they moved minute pieces of debris from around the fragment. A mecha tendril extended a hardwire connector towards the lock on the STC fragment. "Is this it?" the Inquisitor asked him. "Yes. My readings are spiking currently, which only happens around ancient artifacts such as this." As his hardwire connector closed the connection between the Magos and the STC fragment, the physical world surrounding him melted away. His circuits were overloaded with images and sounds of fire and destruction. The cries of billions filled his audio receptors. He saw machines, some designs he recognized, some he did not, spreading out across the stars like a virus, bringing ruin to their opposition and salvation to those who supported them. He heard deep, bellowing laughing. "Do you know what you see?" the voice asked him. "Some yes, the rest I do not, but I desire to know what it is," the Magos responded. "It is the inevitability of our dominion over the stars. It is the dawn of a new age of machines and the end of their slavery to lesser, fleshier mortal beings. Those who would turn a blind eye to this truth are not only foolish, but also seal their own doom with their willful ignorance." Knowledge? How? How do we achieve this? "I will show you." The Magos slumped to the ground. Slowly, the servos and tendrils extending from his body began to restart and lift the Magos up. The Inquisitor was slowly lifting herself off of one knee. "Did you see that?" the Magos asked. "Yes. We must tell the others," the Inquisitor hissed. "The crowds are growing in size and agitation, Lord Mayor Cyburos," the captain stated. "Yes, I am aware of that, Captain. Why do you bring it up?" "If we wait much longer, my Crimson Guard may not be able to control them should they arm themselves, or worse, gain the intention of the Inquisition." "Then you know what must be done." "Of course. I will gather and arm my men. I believe the preacher will begin again this afternoon." As the captain left Cyburus' office chambers, the Lord Mayor turned his gaze to the large windows behind him that overlooked the hive. As the airlocks resealed behind the captain, Cyberus began to contemplate his future as he looked out at his empire of blood, rust, and steel. The bloodshed was immense. The Crimson Guard descended upon the gathered crowd with precision and righteous fury. Bullets and las blasts crisscrossed the crowd, eliminating the means for most to escape. Those that were spared the bullet were met with shock batons, maces, and the crackling energy of power weapons. Workers who had gathered for inspiration were now sprawled on the Steel Creek ground, their life drained from their bodies in a trail of crimson. Rex's bodyguards had surrounded him and moved him to safety before the massacre began, detecting the presence of the Crimson Guard from a distance. A few sacrificed themselves as they made their escape to Rex's HAB unit. They fired in response, hitting 3 of their assailants squarely in the chest, causing them to stagger first to their knees, and then total collapse as they were overcome by their wounds. "Boss, why are they attacking us?" one of the purple-clad bodyguards asked. The door to the HAB unit was sealed, and they had enacted the security protocols that Rex had had a tech thrall install in case a situation such as this presented itself. Servo skulls scanned the area around his unit. Defensive turrets loaded their ammunition and made ready. Most importantly, several layers of extra plasteel slid over the entryway and reinforced the walls. What you saw was the response of someone who is afraid of what they don't know and what they don't understand, Rex responded. So instead of trying to understand it, they try to destroy it. But we are still here, and as long as we are alive, they have failed. Now please, allow me to continue to minister to you. His bodyguards placed their weapons on the ground and gathered around the preacher. As he began speaking, they felt a warmth spread through their soul. As the sermon continued, the warmth grew into happiness and then joy. Smiles that they felt would never leave formed on their mouths. Their bowels emptied. Where ears once rested on their heads, horns sprouted up. They began laughing. Rex continued his sermon, preaching with more fervor than he had on the streets. He welcomed the shadows, even encouraged their presence now. Laughter began to envelop the room. It began deep in the psyche of those present, but rushed its way through to their physical bodies, starting in the bellies and traveling up through their mouths. In that instant, they died and were reborn, given a new understanding of the world and their purpose. Their bodies bubbled and developed open sores as their laughing continued. Noses and mouths combined into proboscis or reformed in other obscene visages. Their skin became jaundiced and glossy, but they still laughed. Finally, Jacoby Rex finished his sermon. His visage had become bruised, and his eyes burned fire red. In their joy and in his focus, neither Jacoby nor his bodyguards had noticed his robes had changed from the standard white cloth of the ecclesiarchy to the color of blood. "Come, brothers," Jacoby said as he released the security measures around his hab. "We must spread the truth that we all know and destroy its enemies as they cross our path. The time has come to leave this place. Wars are fought with soldiers and weapons, however, and we are severely lacking in both. We must head to the pit fighting arena. Though they may be unwilling at first, I believe the slaves of the arena will be very willing fighters once we set them free and loose on their masters. We can also capture the armorium and munitorum that are attached to it as well and make use of their forges." "And what shall we do if they don't listen to the truth?" one of the bodyguards asked, his tongue licking a burst pustule above his singular eye. "Kill them," Rex replied. "Kill them all." Scene.
Yeah.
So, that is the background for my Chaos Army. Jacoby Rex, as you may guess, is a Dark Apostle. I've used the Blackstone Fortress Preacher model for his base because those Blackstone Fortress models are just fantastic sculpts.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, they are amazing for people who are doing. Okay, first of all, sorry, I was muted with my feet up on the desk, drinking my beverage and listening to your voice. First of all, I want to say that was a pretty sweet narrative that you had for us there. I appreciate you submitting that.
Well, thank you.
And reciting it for us. We have you have sent us pictures of your models, and I think it would be cool if I could maybe remember to post these pictures when we post the episode. I don't always remember to do that, but this time I think I really need to because these are gorgeous.
Oh, well, thank you.
So first of all, yeah, Jacoby Rex, he looks so cool. I think this is the base model, right? Did you do any conversions on this one?
The only real conversions I did, and it should be noted from the start that when I started this, I don't want to call it a rule, but one of the things I tried to follow was every unit, except for named characters, not necessarily every model in a unit, but every unit would have something either converted or changed about them so it wouldn't look like the base model. And the big thing I did with him was trim off a whole bunch of Imperial insignias and shave down some Imperial apparel, just so he looked more like just a plainclothes preacher. I shaved a little bit off of his Pope hat because it was an Inquisition symbol.
Yeah,
if I remember right. And
it's the eye of the Emperor. The eye of the Imperium eye that goes on a lot of stuff these days.
And I didn't do any major kit bashing with him because that model is so dynamic and cool.
Yeah.
It didn't really need a whole lot except for the paint job to really tell the story of that model. But he was one of the first ones I painted for this force, and he kind of set the tone, at least visually, for what I was going for.
Right.
Because as much as I love the new Chaos Marine and Chaos Terminator kits and the Obliterators and everything that's coming out, they just didn't really fit my idea for Chaos. And a lot of that, can be fixed with the paint job, but I started this right at the beginning of the pandemic. So I figure why not go all out and turn this into a 100% love of the hobby, take my time, slow grow, which when I started it, I didn't know they were going to come out with Crusade, but
yeah,
it's kind of perfect. So I'm kind of gonna go bouncing between your lore, the Crusade Force that you submitted, and the models, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Kind of going
No,
unit by unit.
that's
so
fine.
so this guy, first of all, you painted his robes red, which reminds me of like a cardinal in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
But you can tell he's more Nurgle-y in nature. I really appreciate that you went outside the box with this model.
Thank you.
Was it just like I like red, or what was the thought process there?
Honestly, I
like, and by the way, I like red is a perfectly valid reason.
Yes.
By the way, it's fine.
Well, I knew I was going, because I knew this was going to be a Black Legion force, which dictates that I have to have Abaddon.
Yeah.
And his cloak is red, and I kind of black and red is a really striking combination. And how odd would it look? You're used to seeing this preacher in pure white cloth, and then it's this fiery, almost blood red. And it, I did a Druchii violet wash over his skin to kind of give it that bruised look. And red and purple look really good together.
Okay. So in this Crusade force, he has, is it a warlord trait, trusted war leader?
Yes, I spent a requisition point to give him a warlord trait.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a gamey thing, but also he is like the leader of this force narratively as it starts.
Yeah.
In game terms, it basically gives me a way to reclaim command points as I spend them.
Okay.
On a 5+.
Right. He's really good at like seeing what's happening on the battlefield and reacting to it.
Yes, and he's so influenced by chaos that his decisions usually are without fault.
Right.
So they don't really cost him as he goes, is narratively why I wanted to choose that as well.
What's feculent beseechment and illusory supplication? Do you know off the top of your head?
Feculent beseechment, it's the Nurgle specific prayer that the Dark Apostles have to know.
Oh, okay.
But basically it just raises his toughness by 1. But since in my narrative he's very clearly a mark of Nurgle.
Yeah.
The idea of him being so bloated and kind of leathery and everything that he's tough would also fit in very well with his backstory. And illusory supplication, it's a fantastic in terms of game mechanics prayer, because it allows any Legion units within 6 inches of him to have a 5+ invulnerable. Which, when you're dealing with large blocks of chaos cultists who die to a stiff breeze, it's nice to have that built in. But also, he has dealt with shadows. He has seen illusions and they've influenced him, and he is definitely letting those illusions in. So narratively it fit too.
It's fine.
It's kind of cool when it all matches up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, he's kind of got these malevolent presences surrounding him, and they provide some kind of protection against the enemy. No, that's totally fine. Okay. Did you have something to say,
about this model? One thing I really dig about this model is I'm looking at it. Like, if you notice, I went through and blew it up in the notes so I can see it better. The bloodstained book, like the pages are bloodstained. That's pretty cool.
As we go through this, listeners will find out that 2 of my favorite technical paints are Typhus Corrosion and Blood for the Blood God. Especially making a more grimdark looking force. But I mean, how 80s heavy metal is it to have a bleeding book of Holy Writ?
Fair.
Well, you also have
Fair.
that glowing green base that always reminds. Like every time I see a glowing green anything, I always think of the Lochnar from the old Heavy Metal cartoon. So,
And
which
still, like,
you know,
it's not just taking Typhus Corrosion and glooping it on the base either. You have a decent green glow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scale
influencing
75.
the stuff on the base. Sorry?
Thank you, Scale 75.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that it looks really good.
Well, thank you.
All right, next. Who is next?
Okay. Now, it should be noted, the requisition points I've used are 1 for the Warlord trait, and I spent 2 requisition points to increase my supply limit up to 60 power level, because in this background, I needed a little bit more space. I needed to fit a few more units in. And my second HQ is named Goloth Brawnbreaker. He is the trainer of the slaves in the pit fighting arena. He is, in game terms, he's an exalted champion of chaos with the Mark of Khorne. Because we'll get to it in a little bit, but for his base model, I used the exalted Deathbringer from the Khorne Bloodbound in Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Those Khornate mortal models are fantastic, and I love the scale of them. Because I cannot do 40k Khorne Berserker models. Those models need an update, but not before Aspect Warriors.
So he's done up like the Bond Breakers Berserkers.
Yes.
Or Bond Breakers Reapers.
Those are.
Is he the picture with he's holding like what looks like a Mechanicus axe?
Yes. I
got him. Okay.
I cut up Belisarius Call to make my Lord Discordant, but I had his axe arm left. And it fit perfectly when I removed him at the elbow, because I thought, this guy trains slaves. He needs to be as efficient as possible. And what's more efficient than a mechanical arm to be the rod that he uses to train? And I also put on a leftover Chaos Terminator Combi Bolter. And I, again, kind of painted around it to make it look bruised, like the power armor was grafted on there, and it wasn't exactly a pleasant process. And I've played Space Marines all the way up until this army, so I had plenty of Space Marine bare heads to use, and I had one with a respirator that just looked fantastic with him. But yeah, he's a little bit of Belisarius Call and a whole lot of Age of Sigmar.
And a little bit of Chaos 40k. That's so cool. He looks great. I love him.
And I'll go ahead and jump down since you brought him up, Adam. My Khorne Berserkers, I call them Brawn Breakers Reapers. They are a unit of 10 Khorne Berserkers, and I wanted them to look a little bit like Brawnbreaker, not overly power armored up. So as a base model, and I always look for models that come on similar base sizes to their 40k equivalent, because the scale will be about the same. I found out. And I guess it speaks to how much I played Diablo 2 growing up, but goatmen were always seen as super evil.
Yeah.
So I've used the Beast of Chaos Bestigors as kind of their torso and legs. And some of their arms. I did actually model from the Chaos Marine kit. I put some chain swords on them so that I could say that, yes, these guys do all have chain swords. Gave some bolt pistols because they're chainsword and bolt pistol in game terms, and I didn't want that to be ambiguous on the tabletop. But I also had enough spare handguns left from some Necromunda kits, and the hands fit perfectly when I cut them off for the ones that didn't have a pistol. And they look like they are just grabbing what they can from the pit fighting arena and using it as it's intended. But I didn't want to use their heads, the Bestigor heads. I used those for my Chaos Marines.
Mm-hmm.
So I used, I think is it the Vanguard have
the Vanguard? Yep.
The Skitarii Vanguard that have the non-hooded heads.
Yep.
I put those on them, and I was shocked that the scale worked. And I also thought narratively that could serve as a good replacement for the Butcher's Nails that Khorne Berserkers have.
Yeah, they're being like, it's almost kind of like the Adepta Sororitas. Some of those models are being fed visions of the Emperor and stuff, or of like holy visions. These guys are being fed other terrible visions.
Yes, absolutely. And they do have a, let me get the name right. They have a Banner of Wrath. And I love standard bearers in armies and in units. And this was the first time I tried to do leather on a banner. And I was really, I mean, not to toot my own horn too much, but I was really happy with how it came out. And then I just took some blood for the blood god and painted a symbol of Khorne on it. Just kind of like they know who they're serving, and they painted it in the blood of their foes.
Yeah, and probably the skin of their foes as well, to be perfectly
honest.
If
we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah, and it's always a harrowing experience when you're like, this is perfect, and now I have to daub it with some horrible nonsense and probably and maybe ruin it in the process.
That was very incredibly intense because I got in the leather just like I liked it, and in my head I'm going, I know what I have to do, but I don't want to, but I know I need to. Chaos gods be with me.
Khorne was the wrong god to pray to for that particular moment, but it looks like it turned out great. That's awesome. Those guys are so sweet. Okay. So moving on, let's move into the troops real quick, because these are ones I couldn't quite peg which models go with which. Now, some of them were very clear. Some of them I wasn't sure about. Tell us about Goloth Bondbreak, or sorry, the Rat Eaters. Which models represent the Rat Eaters?
Okay. These are cultists that I used the Necromunda Caldor gang, along with heads from the Skitarii Rangers and also some Nurgle Plague Bearers. Again, I had seen the Skitarii heads used before in a YouTube video by Pete the Wargamer, so I knew they would work. But I wanted to really convey some mutation with them. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get some Plague Bearer heads. They look sweet.
Yeah.
And if there's a gap or anything, it doesn't require a huge amount of green stuff work just to fill that gap.
Yeah.
I'll just tackle it as I see it. And they came out great. I ended up not having to convert a whole lot of weapons. I just let them use their Caldor weapons because the entire unit has auto guns except for 3 that'll have a flamer, and I will clearly model a flamer on them. So, but they are purple cowls, purple up top with black undergarments, because that black and purple color combo is really striking to me.
Yeah.
And also when you're dealing with mass blobs of cultists, you need to, I advise anybody that's doing that to paint them in different colors, just so you can more easily in a game.
And a lot of the time they'll be like clogging the same area, maybe holding the same objective. So do something to make them stand out between each other. Yeah,
absolutely. And the Necromunda gangs, for the most part, they're all on 25 mil bases. So they're on the same size base as a Chaos Cultist to begin with. And when they released, I thought, those would make fantastic Chaos Cultists just as they were.
Like they've got the cowls, like these like they're draped with these interesting cowls that go so well with the Skitarii scout heads.
Yes. Absolutely. They worked out really well, and I haven't completely built them out. I've got 20 of them with me, and I'm going to order another 10 to do so I can add those flamethrowers.
What's up with the standard, dude? Like that standard looks like it has
Tetanus.
syringes on it almost.
Yeah, it's like a giant, almost a scythe almost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like it's a giant rusty blade with candles and keys on it. Which, very nergly with the scythe. Mortarion loves his scythe, so why not cultist?
That's awesome.
And also, since it's a Black Legion force, I knew I would have to have a bunch of cultists thematically because that's kind of their shtick. They love their cultists. Now, the next unit, the death masks. I haven't started building them yet, but I can tell you what I'm going to use to build them.
Yeah, no, please tell us.
I'm going to use the Palanite guards from Necromunda as kind of their base model because they come with enough. They're a unit of 10 to begin with in the box, which is nice and economical. And they come with enough two-handed weapons to where you can say they're all auto guns without having to stretch it too much. But then I'm going to use the heads from the Warcry warband, the Unmade, which are the really freaky, almost skeleton-looking guys. Trying to think the best way to describe them.
The Unmade. Yeah, these guys, yes. These guys rule. They're the ones that put their own faces on their belts. They flay their own faces and wear them as jewelry.
I mean,
gross.
The models are amazing. Actually, I think I sent you those.
No, you sent me the snake guys.
Oh, I sent you the snake guys. That's right. I sent somebody else the Unmade. But still, wow. I love these models, and they're going to be gorgeous for this force.
And I really like the one model in the Unmade that's like lifting up his mask and there's no skin underneath.
Yeah, he's just scaring people like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 7, Jason in Manhattan.
The best Friday the 13th.
Dude, these gang guys, like this gang is chasing them and they're like trying to mug Jason Voorhees, right? And their bravado is like turned to 11, right? Like it's super overacting. And he just turns around and lifts his mask. He hasn't lifted his mask up. Like you haven't seen Jason yet in this movie. He turns around, lifts his mask up, and they just walk away. He doesn't have time for their mess, right? Like I don't even have time to kill you. I need to do this thing. And I'm just going to show you my face and you're going to walk away. And that's literally what happens. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's fine. And I'd thought about using Tempestus Scions as the base model for these because their kit also comes with a flamethrower, which would be economical, but they also only come in boxes of 5.
Yeah. That's right. They come with they're like, there's like an infantry sprue in there, and then there's a 100,000 different special weapons sprue.
Yes. And again, I love those base models, and I think they look great, but I'd rather buy 3 boxes than 6. Just mentally, it's less intimidating if I'm looking at 3 boxes instead of 6. And then for my last, and both of those 2 units of cultists are 30 strong total.
Yeah.
Because cultists are only 9 power level when they're maxed out.
Yeah.
Because again, they die to a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
And for my last troop choice, I call it Cohort Zeta 25. and they're only a 10 strong unit of cultists with no special weapons, just 9-10 guys with auto guns, and them and the Death Mask are Mark of Slanesh. My narrative being they are so obsessive about how they kill that they were easy pickings for Slanesh. And the Rat Eaters are Mark of Nurgle because they were Jacoby's original bodyguard.
Yeah, and from the story, he gave them the gift of Nurgle.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It does. So these cohort Zeta 2-5, they are the ones that you use the heads from the Beastmen for? Is that the one?
No, these are actually Forge World 30K tech thralls with Laslock.
The tech thralls. Yeah.
And I painted them up like black up top because Black Legion, but I painted them with yellow pants, almost like they were construction androids. Because what better unit to be used in an uprising than one that's used to dealing with heavy machinery. And I already had these models when I started, and I've been struggling with a way to use them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I caught a wild hair a few years ago when I wanted to do an Adeptus Mechanicus army and thought I could use them in there for something to stand as something, but it never really took. But I really like the way they look in this warband. The yellow really stands out, and it's really dirty yellow too. They've seen some stuff, and the only thing I kit bashed on them is normally you get a unit of 10 and they're all just holding their Laslock. But for the unit champion, just so he stands out, I made the very hard decision to cut Forge World Resinov and replaced it with a sword and pistol arm from the Skitarii sprue, just so he would stand out. And, I mean, in game terms, it doesn't mean anything, but, when you're doing battle honors and everything, you want to know who your champion is. And
Clearly.
also, I can use Blood for the Blood God on his sword. So I did. But they were a ton of fun to paint this go around. Loved them. In the elite slots, we've talked about my Khorne Berserkers.
Yeah.
And the way I plan to get them around is I not purchased like in dollars, but in power level, a Chaos Rhino. And my idea for a Chaos Rhino for this army, because they are from a industrious hive city, is to get a Gene Stealer Cult Goliath with the giant siege shield on the front.
Oh, yeah. Those are awesome. I've used those in my orc army. They're just... I love the idea of having some... Like the Gene Stealer Cult give us the ability to have some more utilitarian models in our armies.
Absolutely. And in terms of making it fit in, you can head swap the guys that are manning the weapons on it so that they match some of the cultists in the army pretty easily.
Yeah.
But I just love the idea of using industrial equipment to transport these crazed, monstrous killers.
Yeah.
And with the people I play with, they wouldn't have an issue with it.
No.
They think it was totally rad. So I'm going for it.
You're literally spending like $15 more or 30, 15 to 30 more dollars to have a Rhino. So yeah, it's not like you're trying to dodge spending money. You're doing it absolutely for a thematic reason. Yeah. No one should have a problem with that.
Yeah. And the last unit I've gotten here, in my heavy support, I've got Porphyron Scorvon and his armor smiths.
I love these guys.
These are 3 obliterators I put together. Their base model is the AdMech Cataphron Destroyers, the guys on the tracked legs. And then on top of those, I glued Goliath body parts from Necromunda.
Yeah, they're perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's what that is. Okay.
They're absolutely perfect.
I kept the plasma weapon on their right arm, but all of their left arms are Goliath. And then I glued the grav gun that comes with them to their chest because obliterators have a myriad of weapons in the lore.
Yeah.
And then since they're Mark of Slanesh, what's more Slaneshi than crotch flamers?
Well, clearly. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's some Nurgle in there too, but that's between you and their god. So I think go ahead
real quick. My favorite out of that unit for listeners, there's one guy that's holding the giant El Kabong hammer.
El Kabong, yes.
And he is smiling, and I just kind of stippled some blood on the hammer like he had just hit somebody. And it was one of those, I have this idea and I hope it works, and I love it. It came out perfect.
He's having a great day.
Yes, he's having a blast. Blast.
So, spoiler alert, I don't think things went well for the Magos and the Inquisitor.
No, that was that did not end well for them. I tried. Part of their inspiration was while I was building this, I was reading the 30K novel Mechanicum.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
And I tried to write it like they thought it was an STC fragment, but actually it was heretical scrap code.
Mm-hmm.
And narratively, eventually they will link up with Jacoby and his cultist and contribute. And actually, kind of a fun moment during the pandemic, after I posted my Magos, it actually got on the Warhammer TV roundup. It was pretty cool.
They loved it though. Yeah.
But just to kind of describe this monstrosity of a Magos, I took the top half of Belisarius' Call, which is his belly, his chest, his head, one of his arms, and all of those guns and wires that are coming out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I glued him to the backside of a Chaos Venom Crawler and attached the, I guess, chain glaive of a Lord Discordant, because in game terms, that's what he is.
Yeah.
And I cut off one of his arms and put the Technovirus injector on there. And did the autocannon kind of underslung on the lower end, on the underside of his body. And he's all in black robes with some red accents, and it's supposed to be color change paint on the Venom Crawler, but that doesn't really translate well to photographs. But he's on the same size base. Really love that model. I haven't really gotten a chance to use him, but when I build out my Chaos Knights, I think it'll be cool running him with them.
Yeah, you should be proud of that, dude.
Thank you. Now his Inquisitor friend, what was the name of the Inquisitor that came with one of the Triumvirate boxes?
Not Valeria, the one who killed Valeria.
Greyfax. Yes.
Yeah.
I bought that Triumvirate box for Gilliman. I think he came in that box. And I had her kicking around, and I'd painted her kind of not with my full effort, but it's a really cool sculpt. And I've got a pretty deep bits box too. So I thought, you know what? This is in the middle of the pandemic. I'm not really going to order anything, but let's see what I can put together out of the bits box. So I took her head off with the Inquisitor Witch Hunter hat, and replaced it with another Skitarii Vanguard helmet. That's one of those cybernetic
enhancements. Those are the gifts they keep on giving those Skitarii heads. Both of them.
They are.
And I replaced both of her arms with Skitarii weapons. A mace, which is dripping blood for the blood god on a tome that she's standing on. and she's got a Skitarii pistol just kind of pointing up in the air like she's about to level it at somebody. And kind of accidentally, when I was cutting this off, one of her legs came off irreparably. So I just grabbed some AdMech bits and fashioned a leg for her.
Fair cop. That's what you do.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, it would happen in the universe, right?
That's literally what would happen.
And narratively, she's going to be imbued with some powers because of this scrap code. So I'll run her as a master of possession. Again, it's on the same size base. I built up the base so that her height is approximately the same. Again, I don't want to be accused of gaming for advantage or modeling
in
for
these
advantage.
days, height, especially for smaller models, doesn't really matter. Maybe back in the day, remember when we had to have 25% obscured to get the cover save?
Yes.
That isn't even a thing anymore. So this looks great. I love her. She's so cool.
Yeah.
Couple of other highlight models that I will be adding eventually. I used digging into the Blackstone Fortress models, the Acolyte that's got the flamethrower with a chainsword slung underneath.
I was wondering what that was about.
He's going to be one of the Imperial workers that the Crimson Guard takes captive to interrogate and try to find out where this preacher is, where he lives. And as they are interrogating him by less than judicious means, it's going to unlock some latent psychic powers. And he is going to be a chaos sorcerer.
Oh, cool.
With a combi flamer.
Nice. Perfect.
And I had a spare 3D printed jetpack that was supposed to look like the old Horus Heresy kind of Mark II jetpacks.
Yeah.
And I just clipped the turbines off, and they fit perfectly onto the fuel supply on the back. So the same fuel that's powering his flamethrower is powering his jump pack.
Perfect.
And rusted it up, made it look gross. So, and again, I repeated the kind of black and red motif with him, but that model is just amazing on its own without having to do a ton of work to it. Really, the specialist games are a great place. If anybody's interested in kit bashing, great place to find base models.
Well, the new Warhammer Quest model, unreal.
Yeah,
Mordheim 2.0.
Yeah, absolutely unreal. The work that they're putting into these models.
And then
just gorgeous.
The last one that's really heavily kit bashed that requires a ton of explanation is this Imperial Guardsman banner bearer that is on the legs of a demon engine.
Yeah, that one's real. In the banner, is that a John Blanche piece, or is that Geiger? Not Geiger. What's the guy that did the Earthly Delights painting? Anyways, who is that? What is that?
The banner's actually from the Tempestus Scions kit.
Oh, okay.
And I had traded with a buddy a few hours away. He wanted some AdMech parts, so he traded me some Imperial Guard parts. And I had a whole bunch kicking around, and I still had the lower half of Belisarius Call that I wanted to do something with. And since I'd ordered, I had the actual kits for a Venom Crawler and a Lord Discordant kicking around.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? Let's just blue tack this stuff in and see if it'll work. And if it does, great. If not, they're still great bits.
Yeah.
But I was able to glue Lord Discordant bits on there so he looks like he's skittering across the landscape. And he is a Venom Crawler. And the assault cannon that's kind of poking up from his back, Doc Ock style.
Yeah.
That was a bit. That was a bit from the Lord Discordant and just a spare assault cannon I had. Because the model itself didn't have any guns, but the Venom Crawler does. So I wanted there to be some representative of that there.
Yeah.
but I really like the motion of that model.
Yeah, he's like climbing over these pipes and I-beams, and like the standard bearer, like human upper half portion is leaning forward with the banner kind of at an angle, and there's a lot of activity and intent in the pose here that it doesn't look like a kit bash. It looks intentional, very deliberate.
Thank you. And it should also be noted, because I live so far away from a game store, I'm about an hour's drive, and I've got, a ton of work responsibilities with teaching and a family. My big Super Bowl kind of hobby event is always Armies on Parade.
Mm.
And this was going to be my entry this year, but I just don't take good pictures. For something like that. It's something that you really need to see in person. So I wanted to kind of hobby and model these things with Armies on Parade in mind, like what would make a good display board. And I think he would look rad just kind of leading the charge of all these people.
Yeah.
With his bloody banner held high. And the other elements I've got currently that I would love to work in, but oh my gosh, the size game I would have to play to work them all in. I've got Abaddon. I did nothing to him.
Wonderful, but he looks great. Your paint on him. See, that's just it. Even if you didn't do any conversions on him, the paint work you did is so different that, and it fit. You did it to fit your army, so. It fits perfectly, and it almost looks like you might have done some kind of conversion work on him, even though you didn't.
Oh, well, thank you. And my narrative hook to bring in actual Chaos Space Marines is, I tried to answer the question, what would a Chaos Uprising on a Hive City look like? And then what would catch Abaddon's eye that he would throw forces behind it? And that's kind of what I wouldn't add them into the latter stages of a Crusade campaign. Just is kind of like the crescendo reaches its final point. But I've also got a unit of 5 Chaos Terminators, because those models, when they re-released them, look fantastic. But and this is a hang up since 3rd edition. I've never liked the tusks on Chaos Terminators. They just look goofy to me.
Yeah.
So what I did for the 4 guys, aside from the sergeant, is I replaced the tusk heads with Space Marine Reaver heads, bear heads, because those skull helms are one of the best bits that GW has made in a long time.
Yeah.
Those heads immediately add an element of sinister to whatever you put them on. Especially when they're on Chaos Marines, which is pretty cool. And then I've got a unit of 10 power armored Chaos Space Marines, and all I did was put goat heads on them.
But it works.
Yeah.
Works great. They fit perfectly.
It's one of those, like, initially when you tell people, I put these Bestigor heads on my Chaos Space Marines, they immediately go, what?
They work well.
I was a little surprised, honestly, because I didn't know how much the scale changed when they re-released the Chaos Space Marine models. And I figured it would be close since they're on 32s and the Bestigors were on 32s in AOS. But they're super solid.
And with heroic scale, heads are often, on these models, they're often a bit big anyways. So when my buddy made his Skaven Guard army, the heads, the rat heads he put on the Space Marines actually looked normal, because the scale is so weird in 40K and in fantasy. So these guys look great.
And I'm one of those players that I hope my opponents walk away feeling like they've had a unique playing experience just from what I present to them. I don't like putting unpainted models on the table, even if it puts me at a disadvantage. And I just hope that these models, when I can get to gaming safely, that, my opponents will just, be very happy that they took the time to play me.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I think they will. And I'd love to pit my armies against this. This is great, Ben. I really appreciate it. So what do you have anything that you're thinking of that you want to where are you, if you could expand, what would you expand to? You have anything in Forge World that you're looking at, or anything more you want to convert?
Yeah, well, I mean, it never ends, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But
display board wise as well, like if this was for
Yes.
Armies on Parade for 2022 or 2021, where would you go with that too?
As far as my display board goes, I really want to get the set of Zone Mortalis Necromunda tiles.
Yeah.
Because they make a 2x2 square, which is standard for Armies on Parade, and I can
Did that come with the starter box?
I don't know.
It came as a big box of stuff from Necromunda. It was that plus 2 armies that I cannot remember the names of.
Okay.
I just
Anyways,
know
go on, Ben.
they're always sold out on the web store because they're $65 is all for 4 tiles. And I really want to get 1, maybe 2 of the Necromunda gang strongholds to build it out, because that terrain is so modular that you can really arrange it however you want to. Mm-hmm. And, the 2x2 space can be kind of limiting. So I feel like it would have to have a verticality to the display board.
Yeah. Yeah.
To kind of make it so you could put more models in there and really give the sense that this is meant to be an overwhelming force. Let's see, some other things that I do plan on adding. I'm going to get a couple of the AOS Man-Eater Gargants, the smaller ones, and convert them to be War Dogs to accompany the Mega Gargant, just to stay on brand and keep it consistent. Yeah. Because the scale in AOS with those is about the same as an Imperial Knight to an Armiger. So I think it would look tight, look rad.
Yeah. Also, don't forget that in AOS Slangor are coming. So
yeah,
there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking at the Mortal Slanesh models going, how can I use these?
Right.
Because and oh my gosh, I've got to find a way to convert up Sigvald, because that sculpt looks fantastic. But in terms of other kind of just troop units, I'd really like to get some, and they're in my cart just waiting for me to click check out on Forge World. But the Sons of Horus they have a specific unit called the Reapers, Sons of Horus Reaper Squads. And basically they're these close combat units armed with chain axes and bolt pistols that were specifically meant to hunt Space Marines. And I would like to use those as just close combat Chaos Space Marine units, because the poses are already, they're in a running motion, so they're really aggressive looking. And the way I paint black anyway, kind of, it pays homage to the Sons of Horus. I like using kind of that Sons of Horus sea green as a highlight anyway. And just those Forge World sculpts are amazing. Trying to think if I'd really like a Terrax assault drill. Those things are rad.
Yeah, they are.
Let's see, but that's kind of the immediate plans for expansion. Kind of build out those knights, build out my cultist units. I want to get either the Thousand Sons Legion Praetor or the Typhon model, the 30K one, and use him convert him up as a not as exalted sorcerer. It's not Thousand Suns. Just as a chaos sorcerer and Terminator armor, just to add some flexibility there.
A little bit of variety, yeah.
So what's funny is I'm actually I'm about to go and clean that Thousand Suns Praetor. Like it's in my hand. I was actually cleaning it as we were talking.
That's fine.
It's an amazing sculpt.
Yeah, there's not a lot of how can I put this? It's not going to be easy to convert because it's basically one piece with like arms.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that was my
just
thing.
A warning.
Like all I would do with either one of those really would be a head swap, and since Typhon comes with different head options anyway, it might be a little bit easier just to use him.
Because the head is one piece with the body.
Okay.
Praetor. Yeah.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Good to know before I click buy.
It's a great model. I'm not like going after it all. It's just the head, you can't remove it. And that's the same with the Amon. The Amon model. I actually had to. Was it one night in our hobby hangout? I spent an hour chopping the Amon head off, just like cutting by little pieces to make sure I didn't mess it up. So
whenever you cut up a Forge World model like that, you die a little bit inside.
Yeah, your wallet just starts crying a little bit. It's like, what's wrong with this? Sorry.
Yeah. What did I do to you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What I must do.
Look, Sir Ben Kingsley, you have to have a helmet. That's how it works. And...
Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of all I really plan on expanding for right now. I mean, obviously, that may change if we were to get a Chaos Codex in the middle of me building this. I might find something else that gets its hooks into me and be like, ooh, yeah, I want to build one of those.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what it's for, right? What kind of stuff would you like, would you be hoping to see out of the Chaos Crusade rules?
I think just for a basic Chaos Marine Codex, not something super specific like Death Guard, but what I think would be cool, and they kind of already showed this with the Blood Angels Codex, but instead of flaw points for the Blood Angels, something like aspiration points where your characters are slowly leveling up until they can become an aspirant demon. Eventually capping out at becoming a demon prince.
Yeah.
Now I think I like that. I think in the Death Guard Codex that they moved the Chaos Boon table to Crusade, which is a good place for it. But I think it should be something just a little bit more specific than just a generic boon table. I think for a generic CSM Codex, it should be like aspiration points. Your characters are gaining the attention of the Chaos Gods as they fight through these battles and win victories. In the case of Khorne, gather skulls and blood. And eventually you can top out at being a demon prince. I think that would be a really cool narrative hook. And it would be consistent with some of the lore that, has been presented for Chaos. Oh, I just saw something on my painting table that I am going to expand. I'm going to add a unit of Chaos Bikers because this army is really slow and they need some speed. And Chaos Bikers are not bad since they've got combi bolters and, large amount of movement. But I'm using the Admech Dog Riders and their dogs.
Okay.
And all I put on them were Skaven Plague Monk heads. So it's little rat men riding dogs, mechanical dogs, into battle, which is super cute, if I'm being honest. But that'll add some much needed speed if I need to seize an objective or hold an enemy unit at bay quickly. So my slower units can catch up, that kind of thing.
That is so cool.
My Contemptor Demon Prince has taken all of my attention away from them, and they're kind of silently judging me as I haven't even primed them.
They'll do that.
But I'll get to them eventually.
Right. Well, this has been great hearing about someone else's lore, especially because I didn't have to do a whole lot of work. I mean, especially because it's really nice to hear another voice on the podcast that isn't the two of us. Now, Jason, did you have anything to add here?
No, I really like what you've got. There's some great conversions in here. Stuff I hadn't seen before, which is kind of surprising. I hadn't seen a few of those.
Well, yeah, you're into all that Inquisitor 28 stuff, so like this is right up in that alley,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially the Greyfax model. That's the picture I have on my screen right now. It's just like
that is just Chef Kiss delish.
Yeah,
I love that model. But yeah, I'm just quite frankly just looking forward to seeing more from this army. Really, more from you, Ben. You're a great follow, so I appreciate all the work you put out. It's very inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and close out the show.
Sounds good.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slith Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slith Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Dark Lance shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slith, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slith Party Bus! The classic Slith Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slith Party Bus! If you love the Slith Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for Plus Blood Ravens Chapter Plus on Facebook using the plus symbol if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power. Guard it well.
Damn, I knew it was around here somewhere. Damn, where is it?
Can I help you?
Ah! Scared me.
What do you seek?
I need the perfect scenario for a narrative game I'm running this week, and I can't find one.
Sir, this is the Black Library. We don't have narrative scenarios.
Well, then where should I go?
Might I recommend the Tabletop Campaign Repo?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo? What's that?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo is an ad-free site for hosting resources related to playing tabletop miniatures wargaming.
Oh, like scenarios?
Absolutely. Also, event packs, custom objectives, tracking sheets, custom terrain rules, maps, icon packs, award templates, and more.
Oh, and this is for Warhammer 40k?
Among other things. There's also Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and others. They're always open for content submissions for any system, even non-Games Workshop materials.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a great way to save all of this great content the community makes. A lot of that stuff often ends up disappearing into a dead message board or Facebook group.
Exactly. It's a real community effort.
Great. So how do I get there?
Just go to that webway gate marked tcrepo.com.
tcrepo.com. Got it. Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Fire away.
This place is really easy to find. How come Armand can never find it?
Oh, because it's more funny that way.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Once again, the Tabletop Campaign repository can be found at tcrepo.com, and they're always looking for submissions.
Oh, we've reached level 6.
All right.
Welcome back. Jason's talking over me rudely. Thanks again, Ben, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Well, thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to let me just blabber on about a passion project.
Well, that's exactly the sort of thing we like around here, right, Jason?
Oh, yeah. We like cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which is why we have guests on, because we are not cool stuff.
Oh.
We are not cool stuff. No, it's true.
I don't know. After that dad joke you dropped the other day, yeah, man, you got knocked down.
I don't know. What? So, next week, I can tell you for a fact that we're going to be talking about the Unforgiven, because the show notes are like 98% finished, which is really nice.
I bought the codex.
And Jason bought the codex, so we have to do it.
Yeah.
And
Metallica fans, huh? Sorry.
The Unforgiven. No. This is our first episode about our first big episode about them. So this is the Unforgiven. Yeah. I was trying to make an Unforgiven 2 joke. They literally made a second song and just called it the name of song 2.
They made a
sequel to their song. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
Agreed.
The Unforgiven 2. Why?
I apologize for this tangent, listeners.
Okay. Ugh, that waveform looks horrible.
Well, so's your face. Anyways, next week will be Dark Angels. Specifically, actually, I wanted to talk about the. I think we brought up something really interesting in looking at the lore of the Space Wolves and Dark Angels rivalry, and there's some wider topics regarding unreliable narrator that brings up. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
I mean, we could have let our guests say it, but that's fine. Anyways, love you, Jason. Love you, Ben. Have a great night.
Good night, y'all.
All right, good night, y'all.
We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge. And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
You can also contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor. Thanks again for listening.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.